Wow, here we are, episode 1,
Yeah.
the ReveLAtions podcast.
Welcome.
I know. I'm GM.
And I'm Snoddy.
Yeah. It's really good. We have a lot of good omens today for this initial jumping off point. One being that after 5 years of incubating this concept, here we are.
Here
making it
we
happen,
are.
Right?
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
This is great.
What's the other one? It's a full moon.
It's a full moon.
That's always a good omen, right? And the pink moon, which, pink's always good.
Some of my favorite things in life are pink.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
But anyways, this podcast is all about full circle, inspirational LA stories, which we've lived many.
Absolutely.
And these are my favorite conversations to have.
Yeah.
So why not share them with the world?
Yeah.
We have these conversations every day.
Right. And I think a little bit, well, I don't know, why don't you talk a little bit about the inspiration that, like, kind of that seed that, like, made you come up with this concept? Because when you pitched it to me, I was like, this is an amazing concept. I'm in.
Well, like I said, these are my favorite conversations to have. The coming to LA with $7 in your pocket and a dream, and then through the different trials and tribulations, making it happen one way or another. And, I'm really a big believer in manifesting and dreaming and making it a reality. And I feel like Los Angeles is just one of those places. It's a hub. It's a vortex for anything can happen, endless possibilities. We talk about the American dream, but I feel like in Los Angeles, that's the American dream.
100%. Yeah. I mean, also it has to do with, the whole, we've discussed this before, the Hollywood thing, that draw.
Yeah, the dream factory.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
How, there's people all over the world that kind of want to do what we're doing, to be here, to be being creative, to be following their dreams, pursuing their dreams, making them happen.
Yeah. And I think one thing, as a kid growing up in Virginia, like if I had heard something like this, it would have given me a more realistic perception of what's to come. But I think some of the beauty of it was not really knowing, just blindly jumping in.
Right, because it does take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And the courage, we talked about the courage aspect of it too, because a lot of people, they're just not, their makeup isn't such that they can just take that leap of faith and pack up and just leave all their friends, and they're not the top of the social ladder anymore. They got to come to this new place where they may not know anybody, and it's just them and their dream. And that's a pretty intense thing, right?
Hey, sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah.
A lot of the time. So we're here to build a platform and to facilitate those kind of stories. Because like I said, those are my favorite kind of stories to have. And also I think a lot of people, expect it to be a certain way. Okay, I'm going to go to LA and I'm going to get an agent. And then they're going to pitch me, and next thing you know, I'm on the red carpet, and blah, blah, blah. But, as in life, it doesn't always work out like that.
Well, it's definitely...
And that's what makes it interesting, know?
And it takes work. I mean, you gotta have a certain work ethic if you're going to take that kind of leap of faith to come... and it's not even just about LA necessarily either, is it? Like anywhere you are in life.
Yeah, you can apply these,
Yeah.
These stories to anything, really. It's life, and it's about being resilient and, never giving up. So.
Yeah, and inspiring. It's inspiring because I think a lot of people that may not have that makeup or think they don't have that makeup, when they see somebody else do it, it kind of inspires them. And they go, oh, hey, maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot about what this is about too, is like really inspiring people. Like, don't give up on the dreams, continue to pursue the dreams, and but bring your A game, because it's not always easy, as you found out.
As well,
I found out too. We've all had our moments, where it's the struggle.
The highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows. But, it's made us who we are.
Exactly.
And, like I said, that word resilience.
That's good, right?
We keep going.
Let's talk a little bit about Terrell Moore, who was a big inspiration for your idea for this concept.
Oh, well, Terrell is a world-renowned artist.
Yes.
And I feel like we should get more into that when we have him on.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, he was a big inspiration. Just
I just mean from
that's
of
when
how
it
you came up
clicked.
with the concept
Okay,
of this, not
yes.
necessarily,
So,
you know,
yeah,
his
it was,
story, but just how he helped you come up with this.
well, it was one night with Terrell. You know, I've been bouncing around the idea of the podcast for the longest time, and I knew I wanted to do something inspiring and, you know, something that would add value in people's lives. And it was actually when I was in town playing Coachella. After weekend one, in between weekend one and weekend two, when I was playing Coachella with Keizo, I spent time with our good friend Terrell Moore,
Right.
world-renowned artist, even better human.
Yes.
And you know how it goes. The nights go on and on and on, and the conversation flows. And it was after one of those nights with Terrell, in between Coachella weekends, that I said, oh, snap, I think I got something. Something where we could share these LA stories, you know, because, you know, he's full of them.
Yeah, it's a good LA story. His is really
and
good.
we'll dive into that later when we have him on the podcast.
Yeah, we will. But that's when you thought people need to hear these inspiring stories. People need to, right?
Yeah, like I felt almost selfish.
Yeah.
You know, here taking on this.
Because I was really impressed, like when you came to me and you said, hey, Jim, I've got this thing, and you know we need to do this together because we have these conversations all the time.
All the time,
and
we've lived it.
Yes, yeah,
we have lived
and
it.
Then the way you pitched it to me, I was like, wow, it's like it's a whole like ready to go thing. It's definitely like what I would want to do too. You know, like really to inspire people. Because I was born and raised in LA, which you know everybody wouldn't know that, but you know you're from Virginia. I'm from LA.
Yeah.
But even though I was born and raised here, I have a lot of ReveLAtion stories, you know, because even living here, you know, you still got to make your way.
Yeah.
You know? And I know for me, you know, I left LA and I went to college, you know, and then coming back to LA, it was a bit different by the time I came back from, you know, because LA is you know, just as in life, everything's changing constantly. It's just, you know,
it's a lot.
It moves fast, you know, and I remember coming back and I was just like, oh, okay, I really gotta like just make this happen, you know.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was recruited or not discovered, but you know, I went to a commercial agency to do commercials and voiceover and stuff, and that was a whole new game. You know, that was pretty. When I think back on it, I'm like, wow, how did you have the balls to do that? You know, just like come to LA, no agent, no nothing, you know, just like, but you're from LA. So I had less illusions about LA than most people do, but I just, you know, went for it, you know, I just thought, but now that I look back on it, cause you know, LA can be all those things, even if you're born and raised here, you know, that, you know, like we're talking about the other night, how people, you know, people tell them, "Ooh, LA, the big scary, you know, LA thing, you know how hard it is. Oh, it's so tough. It's, you know,
it's honestly whatever you make it to be. You know, I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. It's the land of possibility. Anything you want at all times, 24/7 available, good or bad.
Right.
Can take you down a lot of detours.
Yes.
You know, you could end up dead on the side of Sunset, or you could be partying in the Malibu Hills.
Right.
You know.
So this weekend just happens to be
Coachella.
the first weekend, 2022.
2022.
Which I thought was really cool because I didn't realize.
Instagram Live.
You know, we set this up to come and, you know, do our inaugural podcast for the ReveLAtions and these inspiring stories and kind of set the playing field for it.
Yeah.
And then I found out, what? Oh, it's first weekend Coachella. Because I kind of been, you know, haven't really been following that necessarily. But Coachella 2019, we were there together, you know. And I think that is such a great story for our initial podcast here on ReveLAtions and telling the stories about how you know, pack it up and you come here and you work hard and the ups and downs, but then all of a sudden the dream starts to really become real, right?
Right.
Because we were in, you know, in 2015 you know, you hadn't been in LA very long and you really wanted to go to Coachella. And and we went, and that's another thing, that's another podcast for sure, all in and of itself. But you know what we took away from that was we had such this epic experience that we just went, you know, and all of a sudden it just turned into this amazing epic thing. And then I remember on the way back, from Coachella,
I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
Are we? Okay, go.
Yeah. So Coachella 2015, Guns. No, it wasn't Guns N' Roses. AC/DC.
AC/DC, yeah.
AC/DC, Jack White.
Yeah.
Drake. We didn't stay for Drake though. We didn't need to stay for Drake.
I don't know why we didn't. I think I had to get back, or I don't know what was going on.
We just wanted that into Drake.
Okay. No, but I love Drake. All props to Drake.
Yeah. All props to Drake. But we went for AC/DC. You know, that was
amazing.
something to see.
And they opened the Friday night show. It was amazing.
Amazing. And kind of funny how it all came about last minute. Like, you know, being new to LA, I hear about this Coachella kind of thing. And so it was like, wow, you know, I just felt drawn to it. It felt like, you know, it's something, there's a rite of passage. You know, it's something you got to experience at least once, you know, this Coachella.
Yeah, it's a bucket list thing for sure.
It's a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
So I remember us throwing the idea out like, 2015, I was 25 years old.
Right.
Still pretty green behind the ears when it comes to Los Angeles.
Right.
I think I was only here like 2 years. And you and I were just kind of throwing the idea out. And then last minute, I remember, we get tickets off of Craigslist or something?
Yeah, it was very
totally like,
last minute. And they were just general admission too. It was just like, get a ticket.
Yeah, I remember we decided on like a Tuesday, and we were on the way out there by Friday.
Right.
Like already just gung ho.
And remember, I had a car accident,
and I was on the phone with you.
I called my lawyer who was handling all the insurance stuff, and I said, hey, you know, we're gonna go to Coachella, but we might end up sleeping in the car or something because we haven't hooked anything up. This is really last minute. So since I had an SUV, I said, you call the insurance company and tell them you need an SUV as the rental car, you know, because that's what I'm driving, and now my insurance has to pay for me to drive an SUV. So he got us a brand new Lexus SUV. Remember? That was pretty cool.
The funny thing was, I believe I was on the phone with you, and we were talking about maybe going to Coachella when you said, "Oh shit, somebody just rear-ended me."
Right. Exactly.
I was on the phone with you.
I know, right? So even you know, out of bad things comes good for sure.
Oh yeah.
We were prepared to sleep in that thing too, and it was nice. We're like, okay, now we got a hotel on wheels now. This is good. Like, even if we have to pull over on the side of the road, but
that's what it was all about, just going for it, you know, because we wanted that Coachella experience, and we got a little bit more than we had.
We did.
Planned for. We got hooked up with this house, this amazing lady.
Yeah.
We just wanted to park in her driveway.
Yes.
And camp.
It was actually my uncle.
Yeah.
And he lived here in LA, and I called him, and I knew, because he always had, you know, a lot of friends out in Palm Springs, and it's just out of my mind. I'm like, well, at least we could park in someone's driveway, right? So I said, you know, Uncle Don, call these people, you know? And so she was really cool. And it turns out, do you remember? So we pull up, and I didn't tell her I was bringing a friend with me. So I was like,
surprise.
Surprise, we're here.
This like pink mohawk, fucking tattooed.
She was cool. She didn't skip a beat. Yeah, she went, come on in. And remember, she had the pool. It was a beautiful house. All of a sudden, we've got this killer house at our disposal. Oh, come in when it come and goes you want. No problem, you know. But remember, she opened the cabinet door, and there was all these killer backstage passes. From like Rod Stewart and Led Zeppelin.
She's hanging out with Hugh Hefner and Frank Sinatra
in the 70s. And like, wasn't that cool? Because here we were to see, you know, this what is now's musical, you know, Ground Zero, and then all of a sudden we're in a house with someone who lived it in the 70s with all the great artists that we still love, you know, that everybody still loves, and it was pretty cool. And it turns out she had a valet service in LA. Back in the 70s, and she got all the gigs to do all the parties and clubs.
What was her name? I can't remember her name.
Maureen, yeah.
Super sweet.
Yeah.
So anywho, there we are at Coachella.
Yeah.
Night 1, 2015.
And I'm on social media and I see that my friend.
Well, prior to that, we had general admission passes that we just were hoping the guy was honest.
Right.
We met in like some hotel lobby.
Right.
Paid the $300 or whatever and got the general admission passes. Parked at Maureen's house. Ubered in. And they dropped us off where the Uber drop-off was, like 10 million miles away from the entrance. We had to walk through the desert dirt.
I just remember being so bummed because I'd been to Coachella before, and you used to be able to just kind of pull up to the front door basically and walk in, and then all of a sudden it was like a switchback, like Disneyland.
Like we're in dust. And
Except they didn't even put gravel down, or they didn't even bother like watering it down. It was just like dust. People, I remember people had bandanas over their mouths because it was so much dust in those switchbacks getting into Coachella. It was like a nightmare.
You know what I just remembered from that first one too?
Yeah.
We had all those little Jack Daniels bottles.
That's right. Yeah, that was my trick because I remembered it kept getting more and more expensive, and you'd go in there and it's like $15-$18 for one drink, and you'd have this bartender in there at Coachella once you're inside Captain Market, right? And he's got his little shot glass and he pours exactly 1 ounce and dumps it in a cup. Okay, that'll be $20. And I'm like, okay, wait, we gotta take some mini.
I remember you got the big case of the mini Jack Daniels.
I did. I had them
and
all.
The places you could fit these things.
Not those places.
Oh my God. I was wobbling in like a penguin. Through the dirt, through the Uber, like all stuffed in, just holding it all together.
Right.
For the old number 7. And then
how to make it on a budget, right?
Yeah, right. That's what we were doing. We were balling on a budget, starving artists, just making it happen. As soon as we got through the clearance gate with all our stuff, I remember I had a joint in there too, tucked in a place, you know, the sun doesn't shine. And I went straight to the porta potty.
And unloaded all the... I think we went and we bought a couple Cokes, and the Cokes were like $5 or something.
That's a steal now.
And then we just kept, you know, dumping the little minis in there, but that was a good night. Yeah.
And we had the best time. We saw AC/DC, which was amazing, and it was amazing that they still had it. You know, they still brought it.
It was intense.
They gave us hope that rock and roll was still alive and well at the time.
I remember thinking, because the Coachella audience is a specific audience in some ways, or people perceive it to be. Mm-hmm. And I remember thinking, wow, how is this, Coachella audience going to really, because it's a lot of indie, it's a lot of EDM, it's a lot of, different genres.
Right.
But definitely not that old school, heavy, kick-ass rock and roll. So I'm thinking, how are these young kids going to, relate to this band,
Right.
Like, is this really a Coachella? And they were headlining the Friday, remember? It was the first Friday. And I remember we were partying all, and we met some people, and we're partying all night. And then it was, time to check out their set. And people just went apeshit.
Man.
It was amazing.
And
I remember looking around, and here's all these, like... 18-year-old chicks, and they've got their little light up horns on.
Devil horns, yeah.
And I thought, wow, they get it.
Right?
Yeah. And they got it. And then these old guys, I mean, God bless them, those guys been around since, the 70s.
Thunder.
And Angus Young still wearing his little schoolboy outfit, and and they just crushed it for like 2 solid hours.
That was back when Malcolm was alive too.
Yeah.
Right before.
2 solid hours, just and everybody just stayed, and it was just, they had everybody locked in. It was incredible.
It was a moment. It was a spiritual moment for sure.
And then I remember I was trolling on social media, and I saw that my friend Steve Lucas was there. And Steve Lucas is a really good friend of mine, who we will have on this podcast because he has a lot of great Revelation stories. But
I think it was great that we experienced that first night, walking through the dirt.
Right.
Because it really made us appreciate what was to come.
It did. It kind of set the bar real low. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Steve Lucas made it good in marketing. And on his Instagram, he had posted
Chillin'.
It was a shot of him on the runway in Palm Springs at the airport, Palm Springs Airport, and he had his crew with him, and they were all outside the private jet that they had just, departed from, and they're all wearing these crazy onesies, like animal onesies.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my God, Steve is here, because Steve and I have, like, when we have him on the podcast, we'll talk about all the really cool ReveLAtion stories, and he's got some good ones because he's very successful. But it turns out later that he told everybody, like, hey, and he brought 8 people, which is like, a posse, to get around Coachella and to get the artist wristbands, and then that's a lot to navigate. But he had it all hooked up. But he said, don't come unless you have your onesie, because you won't be able to get on the plane. So that just tells you how cool Steve is and how funny he is. He's a really fun guy. He's wild, and he's like, everybody's got to wear this onesie, and so they're all on the tarmac with these animal onesies. I'm like, oh my God, Steve's here. I'm gonna hit him up, Yeah. And so I remember I hit him up.
My perception of that was one moment, because there was a lot of substances
right
being.
There always are.
Yeah. And so
I wasn't partaking.
A less evolved version of myself. I was 25.
Drinks.
Yeah. First Coachella. To me, AC/DC. I don't remember going back to Marine's house or anything. To me, it was AC/DC. The next thing you know, it's MTV Spring Break, and we're at the Hilton in Palm Springs.
Right.
Partying it up like it's 1996.
Yeah.
MTV Spring Break, DJ by the pool. We're in a cabana.
Well, Steve, when I hit him up, because I saw that he was with a big group of people, so I wasn't sure, know. But, he hit me back. He's like, GM, you're here. Oh, my God. Okay. Be here at this time tomorrow. And they were having the big pool party at the Palm Springs Hilton.
Yeah.
And he said, just be there. And so I remember we rolled up. And there was a line of like 100 people trying to get into that pool party.
Oh, yeah.
And I was kind of being a little like, I'm not going to do this. No. I'm not doing this whole, for a pool party. I mean, they're cool, but, I've done that a few times before. So I was like, I don't need to wait in this line. So I remember I called Steve, and he says, okay, listen, look for this guy and ask for this guy, and then tell him you're with me. And then, he'll take you, he'll hook you up. And I'll be there in a few minutes. I go, okay, great. So, get off the phone, and we're looking around, and there's like so many people. And the table where they're giving people the wristbands and all that was such a madhouse, and I was just like, not annoyed, but I was like, oh God, how am I going to find this guy? So I remember walking up there, and I said, oh, I'm looking for so-and-so. And they said, oh, he's over there somewhere, So then we walk over there somewhere, and I keep asking around, And then finally they said, oh, that's him right there, And he was busy, of course, because it turns out he was the promoter of the whole thing. And he was busy, so he looked at us like, okay, who are these guys? What do they want?
Yeah.
And then I said, hey, Steve Lucas told me to ask for you. And he goes, you're GM, and you're Snoddy.
Yeah.
I go, yeah.
Infamously.
Right.
Yeah.
And before we knew it, like, fingers were being pointed, and all of a sudden we had like VIP wristbands on, and this beautiful young cocktail waitress in a hot bikini was leading us to the pool area.
Ooh.
And then remember we're in.
I remember them just feeding us, all these like hot cocktail waitresses just feeding us Dom Perignon.
Yeah.
Just like over and over and over. It was like 11 in the morning.
Yeah.
Like
it was
Coachella Saturday.
It was fun, yeah. I just remember we were walking around the pool, and then all of a sudden we went, wow, okay, this is happening. And we walked past that line right in the front door, found the guy. And then now we're getting the VIP treatment. All of a sudden this beautiful cocktail waitress says, no, it's right this way. And I remember on either side of the stage, there was some really cool DJ playing too. He became someone famous after that. I don't know. I can't remember his name, but
I want to say it was something like DJ Turtle or something
something
random like that. Yeah.
But I remember on each side of the stage that was set up at this Palm Springs Hilton pool.
Yeah.
The big, DJ stage was all these big white cabanas, right?
Yeah.
And we kept walking past the first one, and then the second one. And this is where we going, All of a sudden we ended up at the cabana that was right next to the stage.
Yeah.
And remember we looked in and it had all killer mod furniture like this.
Oh, yeah.
Remember it even had a dresser.
Mm-hmm.
It had a dresser with drawers in it so you could like change into your swimsuit, and then it had a little safe. And then it even had a chandelier hanging in the middle.
Just ridiculous.
And it was just me and you because
Oh,
Lucas hadn't showed up yet.
That's right.
Yeah. And we're just sitting here in this big ass VIP front row cabana.
Just another one.
Right.
Another one.
And she's
Another
like,
one.
would you like another
Another
drink?
one, please.
Right.
Yeah. And then,
Steve showed up
yes.
with his entourage and then let the games begin. That's when they started bringing all the bottles of Dom Perignon and the vodka Red Bull, which I got on that train because that keeps me rolling.
We met over that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Vodka Red Bulls.
So anyway, we can talk more about that when Steve comes on the show, but cut
For
two.
sure. Cut two.
We jump on.
We had the best weekend of our life.
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was,
yeah, there's so many great stories, and we'll tell all those stories later because we could spend another hour talking just about those killer stories
about
that happened after the Hill
that
Pool
day.
party. But go ahead.
You know, the point being is, the Mercedes party bus.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
part of the
cool.
story.
Yeah, that was.
So, from that moment on, the rest of the weekend, we had artist passes.
Yeah.
We were totally hooked up. We rolled right into Coachella. No walking through the dirt with Jack Daniels stuffed in our underwear. We rolled right up next to Katy Perry's bus.
No, it was. I remember what happened was because Lucas hired the Mercedes party bus.
Right.
Remember, I had the disco ball. It was so cool, and we got on, and the music was blaring. We're like, yes, we're here, you know. And but I remember we were all just partying on the bus, and then all of a sudden we pulled up to Coachella, but we hadn't really been watching where we were going because we were busy in there partying. No. But anyway,
one of the funniest parts inside the party bus is the Snapple bottle.
Yeah, we should tell that part of the story when
Lucas is on, for sure.
It's like. But
that's
a good little cliffhanger there, though.
Yeah.
The Snapple bottle, because people will be going, I wonder what was that Snapple bottle all about. But you'll find out later in a later podcast.
It's very enlightening.
But I remember when we were driving, we were partying, we pulled in, and we got off the bus, and we realized, we're in the backstage of Coachella. He had gotten a pass so that his party bus, because they all had the artist wristbands, could drive right into the back.
Right.
Now they have that separate valet thing where all the VIP, it's at like a little valet station, but before you just pull right back in next to all the buses of the bands and stuff. But I remember getting off that bus and I look over and there's this most amazing tent and it's all colorful and beautiful. It looks like the Arabian Nights. And for people who've never been to Coachella, it's that warm winds blowing around, and there was this big tent. And they have all the trees and the palm trees are all lit up. Yeah.
Desert.
And I walk into this tent and nobody's in it. And there's all these pillows everywhere. And Lucas goes, that's Katy Perry's tent. I said, Katy Perry? Why does she have a tent?
She's not even performing.
She's not even performing here. And he goes, she's Katy Perry. I went, all right, let's keep this party going.
Sad. So then I was kind of on my own little mental adventure.
Right.
And I just remember we're just getting pulled in all these different directions, staying with the group, staying with the crew. And to me, what was so crazy was security would stop us and go, wait, are you guys allowed to be in here? And then we were I was very confused about what was happening. They'd stop us like, are you guys... Where's your artist passes? And the next thing you know, VIP treatment, right this way, sir.
Right.
And it kept happening everywhere we went. Yeah. Hey, are you? Where's your band? Oh,
that was Steve Lucas, 100%.
He greasing the fucking.
He had already hooked it up with all those guys on Friday, and he knew all.
And he did. He didn't have to, but we were having so much fun.
No, so
why stop?
And he wanted us to stay on the VIP party train with him, so we did. But
So anyways, amazing weekend. At that time in my life, the best weekend of my life.
Right. I remember you saying that, and that's a pretty bold statement,
Yeah.
Wow, that was the best weekend ever in my entire life. For somebody to say that, that's pretty cool. But that's the power of Coachella if you do it right.
If you do it right, yeah. And you know, I've known so many people over the years that they go to a festival or Coachella or whatever it is, and they have a great time one time, and then they try to chase that. It's kind of like, you know, your first cigarette,
and you can't recreate it.
You know,
It's got to be organic.
Nothing
It's
is as great as your first cigarette. And, you know, getting that head rush.
Right.
You know, that's why people smoke, because they're trying to chase that feeling.
Right.
But you'll never get it. You know.
So that was your first big like LA moment where you're like,
One of the. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at a festival and
yeah.
and kind of checking off a bucket list thing where you're like, I really need to do that, and you were really the impetus for us to do that, because I had been several times and I wasn't so like 100%. I mean, I was into it, but not. You were just like, no, I gotta go to Coachella. This is my first time, and I thought, okay, this is gonna be fun going with Snoddy, because it's his first time, and like you said, there's only one first time, right?
Yeah, and it's always cool experiencing, you know, reliving it through someone else's eyes, through fresh eyes. But
I remember getting back to the revelation story of this is the really inspiring part, and this is gonna be really cool for people listening to hear this, but. Anyway, we had this epic weekend. We'll go into more of it later when Steve DeLucas is on. There's so many great stories, but I remember we're on our way home, and I was just dragging because we'd really crushed it. You know, we'd spent 2 days crushing it, and then I remember I had to go to work on Monday morning early, and you know we're dragging back, and you know we're not saying a lot because we're just so exhausted and just happy. You know, and then I just bust out with, well, I'm never going back to Coachella ever again unless I can go like that. You know? Unless I can have that kind of experience, you know, with the transportation and the artist wristband. Because, you know, I'd done it several times, just doing it down and dirty, and I'm fine doing that. It's not like I'm all that or anything. But I just, once you experience that level of it, you go, okay, wait a minute, now I'm spoiled. I got to do it that way, you know?
Especially when you can just like go to the bathroom.
And I remember you were all kind of sleepy eyed and kind of like just in your moment because you were just so happy and just like.
I think I had a permanent grin.
Satisfied,
I was just there for weeks.
And you look over at me and go, GM, I'm never going back till I'm playing Coachella.
Exactly.
And that was talk about another bold statement. I mean, that was pretty intense because I remember in my mind thinking, okay, well,
I guess he's never going back.
Well, no, I mean, because I didn't want to be a doubter, and I'm not that kind of person to like pop people's dreams.
You wouldn't be on this podcast.
Right. But that's the revelation story of it. Like, to be willing to chase a dream, but also you got to put that dream out there. You got to visualize it. You got to say, you know. And you weren't saying that in an egotistical way.
No.
But you'd come to LA to be a musician, to be a drummer, to be, you know, successful in your career.
Right.
And now you've seen all these, you know, great bands that played Coachella, but you were also thinking about all the other bands that don't get to play and never will get to play because Coachella's Coachella now, and it's a very short list of people that get to do that, you know. Right. And you just threw that out there. You went, well, I'm never coming back till I play. And I thought, okay.
Because I didn't want to chase that dream.
Right.
You know, of the great.
Try to recreate that. Yeah. And I thought, oh, that's pretty bold. That's pretty cool. And then 4 years later.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Right.
4 years later.
So it didn't happen immediately.
Again.
Right?
Yeah. And, you know, the timing always happens when it should, you know.
4 years later, my phone rings. 4
years, yeah.
That was pretty good.
On tour with Keizo, who's this amazing DJ, and we'll have him on the podcast.
Yeah, he was great. Those guys were so amazing.
Yeah, so we were on tour, 5 drummers.
This is 2019, DJ, early 2019.
2019, touring the country.
Like January, February.
March, April.
Yeah.
And the cherry on top at the end of the tour, which we didn't find out officially till we were already on tour, Coachella.
They made the lineup.
Yes.
You guys all made the lineup.
Not only making the lineup, but headlining the Sahara tent Friday night at midnight. Like, Jaden Smith, Diplo, these guys opened up for us.
Right.
You know, 150,000 people, like, energy like you wouldn't believe, you know. Definitely, like, one of the most inspiring moments of my life. Right. You know, I really believe in vibrations, and that was a vibration.
Yeah.
You know, to be in, you know, that I've never felt anything quite like that. The production and everything. But yeah,
But it also speaks to really going for it too, because in
Yeah.
that 4 years, you really went for it. You set your sight on that dream, and you really went for it, and you didn't take no for an answer. But it takes a lot of hard work, and I think in that 4 years, you had a lot of low points too. You know, because it's not always, you know,
Sunshine and rainbows.
it isn't.
And,
You know, not even in, you know, La La Land. It's not. And there are those times where you go, God, this is a struggle. You know.
Yeah.
But I remember my phone rang. And you kept, GM, I got to tell you something. I was like, okay, what's going on, brother? How's the tour going? You know? And you're like, guess. I'm like, I don't know. And I'm trying to think of all these things, and you keep going, guess. No, you can guess. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Okay, Snoddy, no, I'm not going to be able to guess. And he goes, and you said to me, you go, we're going back to Coachella. And that didn't initially sink in. I didn't know what that meant initially. You know, I didn't know, like, he said, we're going back to Coachella. And I said, what? He said, yeah. You remember, bro? I said, we're not going back to Coachella. It's on playing. I said, yeah. And he said, we just got up on the lineup. And that was that. That was pretty amazing.
Going back.
I remember thinking, oh, this is pretty cool, man. The dream is starting to, you know, Snoddy really like worked his ass off. And, you know, now he's really, you know, the dream has come, you know, real.
Full circle.
And then I just remember going, oh, wow. You know, and then it hit me, wow, we're going back to Coachella. But I loved that you, you know, it wasn't just about you. You're like, we're going back, because I had kind of opened up the door for that first adventure that we had. And then on the second round, you're like, no, you got to be there. You know?
And I didn't even know how. Remember you went standby?
Yeah.
Just like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to get you a wristband, because they're like, you know.
It was a little tighter 4 years later, too. Yeah,
tight security,
but tightened it up a little bit.
We made it happen.
Yeah, we did. It was great. 2019, the last one. And here we are doing our inaugural podcast on the weekend.
Under the
first weekend.
full pink moon.
Under the full pink moon.
Yeah.
First weekend of Coachella. And we were at the last one. Isn't that weird how the I think that's another part of what's going to be great about this podcast is I think in the last, you know, with the pandemic and what happened, I think it really did get a lot of people down. You know? And I think it did shatter a lot of people's dreams too. I mean, think of all the college kids that, you know, were supposed to graduate and have parties and go on spring breaks and do all these things, or the kids that were graduating high school, or people that were just getting to the next level of their career, and then all of a sudden that was just all gone. Yeah, and you can't get those moments back.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't. And that kind of, I think, started to weigh on the world, really honestly, not just, you know, the individual experience, but the collective experience. It really weighed on that, you know. And I think that was part of, like, why I was so excited to do this, because I feel like maybe people are, their dreams have been dashed a little bit, or maybe they're a little more hesitant to chase it now, or, you know, they're a little bit more worried about things in the world, you know. But I think that's when you really have to go after it even more, you know. I think that's when you really have to, like, be even more about the dream part of it, you know.
Yeah, and we've proven time and time again that nothing is impossible.
Well,
you know, you just got to have the courage.
You checked Coachella off your bucket list, so that's a pretty big deal.
You know what? I have no FOMO about what's going on this weekend.
I know. I don't either. It's so funny.
I'm not feeling like I'm
But I do, I don't know, a little bit, just a little bit, because I was telling you guys that Harry Styles had Shania Twain come on last night and sing Man, I Feel Like a Woman. And I thought, oh, that would have been a really great moment, you know?
Yeah.
Because when you go to Coachella, and the people that are listening that haven't been to Coachella, you will have that one moment that's just like, oh, that was the moment of Coachella, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm not missing anything, you know, for sure.
Not at all. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
But, I mean, how many people are there? 1 million people? Or
I don't know. How many people come to Coachella now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Who knows? At least
100,000?
200,000, maybe?
I don't know. We'll have to get the official head count on that. We might be exaggerating, but it's a lot of people.
I know everyone's having their own individual experience, but no one did it like we did it.
I know, right?
Not one of those people.
And what a great revelation story, right? That's it.
That's
about like setting the dream and then going after it, and then watching it happen, you know? And it does happen, you know. And I think that's what's going to be really exciting as we have guests on the show now going forward,
Right.
is to hear all those cool individual stories.
Oh, I love it.
You know.
You know, and we really want to just provide value. You know,
Right.
we want to, you know, bring some inspiration into
Yeah.
a somewhat dim world.
Yeah.
But it's all your perception, you know?
Right. Exactly. I mean, we came here today ready for this podcast, and we were just so vibed up. You know, we're just so like energized for it. You know. And there's a lot of reasons in the world right now to be a little dim, like you said, but you know, you have to. It starts with the individual, so we all have to be as positive as we can, and just kind of, you know, keep the dreams alive. So that's what this is going to be about, you know, and hearing about how other people, the ReveLAtion story about how, you know, what that seed was that brought them here, and also about the courage. Let's talk about that, you know, because you came from small town Virginia. You know, I'm born and raised in LA, so it's a different dynamic a bit when you're chasing the dream. I think because I was born and raised here, I didn't have a lot of illusions about it that people have when they come from a small town. So I don't know, maybe you can illuminate that a little bit.
You know, it's funny. I've been here almost a decade now, so this is home. This is my environment. I was actually on Facebook earlier today, and I got a reminder of how it is back home. It's just a totally different mindset. I grew up in a small town, West Point, Virginia, population like 3,000, which I don't even know where most of those people are. You only see like 20 people when you're out and about, you know. Super, super small town. And I just, you know, I couldn't relate to the people that much. And I'm from there, and that's the weird thing. I always just felt like there was something more. There was a bigger calling. There was just something for me. And I literally was just on Facebook, and that's, you know, you don't even need high school reunions anymore. You just see what everyone's up to.
Right.
And the biggest day of the year was Friday before Easter in my town, and I like completely forgot. I didn't even realize it. But it's the Good Friday Mud Bog.
Okay, that's yeah. I don't know.
The good, yeah.
What's that about?
The Good Friday Mud Bog. So basically, what it is there's a big field, and they get a backhoe in there, and they take a huge hole, and they fill it with water, and then people take turns driving their trucks through it to see if they can make it through. And it's basically it's put on by like the state troopers put it on, right? And they charge a fee to come in. So
it's a super big community event.
The Good Friday Mud Bog, hell yeah, let's go rooting, you know? And it's the craziest thing. People just go absolutely like mental.
Right.
Like everyone comes out for it. Teenagers are drinking and, you know, becoming men and women in the vehicles.
Right.
While people are doing this, like... Just so much shenanigans, and I would go to stuff like that and just feel so out of place. Just like, what the fuck is this redneck shit? Like, it's fun. There's like a party kind of element to it, but you know,
not hating, just saying.
Yeah, that's where I'm from. That's where I'm from, and I was just like, oh, there's got to be more. There's got to be more. I didn't even know what there, you know, else there was, but I just knew there.
I remember you said like when you started vibing on LA, it was really about seeing LA through the lens of music.
Yeah.
Because obviously you were a drummer, and you know you were on YouTube and or whatever social media, and just like looking at LA and saying, oh, you know.
Well, the main thing was like I never read a book in school. I read The Outsiders in 8th grade, but that was the only one I was really stoked on. Right. Everything else was rock and roll biographies. I was like, you know, Ozzy Osbourne, Slash, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin, like all these cool, like, you know, I couldn't get enough. Any rock and roll biography I would read. And some of the similarities I kept reading about was this place called the Rainbow.
The legendary.
On Sunset Strip.
Not just the Rainbow, the legend. It isn't in and of itself, it's its own legend outside of the people, you know, just that place.
Even behind the music, you know, this one time at the Rainbow. Ooh, I didn't even know what the fuck.
I used to love that show, by the way.
Yeah.
Behind the Music. I used to love that show.
I didn't even know what the fuck LA really was, but I knew about the rainbow. I was like, it's just, to me, playing drums in my garage in Virginia, that seemed like this magical place where it was all happening.
Even sounds magical, the rainbow.
Right? Yeah. And, so once I finally decided to make the move, and I'd been to LA a few times to check it out and, like, go to the rainbow and loved it. Just like the energy, just like, wow, this place, this is, Slash used to like puke in this corner, and like, like all this cool stuff.
John Lennon and Alice Cooper used to hang out up in the crow's nest
somewhere over the rainbow. Yeah. And so when I finally just randomly
also Bonham
made the decision,
crazy Bonham, the drummer, because you're a drummer, so you could probably relate to
all of it. Yeah. Just it's the authentic hard rock cafe, the real deal though. And it's in the carpet, it's in the old walls, it's thick, the energy in there. And so I didn't know much about LA. I didn't even know much about beaches. Like, I just assumed it's California, they got beaches and everything, but I knew about the Sunset Strip, the Viper Room, the whiskey, right, all of it, the Roxy. Even
the Comedy Store, because I know you're into comedy.
The Body Shop.
Right. Oh, the Body Shop, damn.
Because we're into bodies.
I think that Body Shop sign has probably been in a million music videos along the way.
So, like, it just seemed like the Mecca, like the Sunset Strip. That's where I need to be. That's where it's all happening. And the different eras of it, too, The 60s with the Doors, being the house band at the Whiskey, to, the 70s, the 80s, all of it, being its own thing. So I kind of felt like, what? Now it's time for my era on the Sunset Strip.
I remember there was some of your friends that were going to come with you or something like that, and they just kind of couldn't quite.
No, I closed my eyes. I went like this on a calendar and said, oh, that's the day I'm moving to LA. Like, totally random about it, And I had some gigs and opportunities lined up. But I just had to go,
But I remember you said you had some friends or something that, were all gung-ho and cheerleaded it. Oh, yeah, I'll go with you. I'm down.
Oh, yeah,
let's go do this. Let's chase that dream,
Yeah.
And then they all just, when the day came, it was like, well, are you guys going to come and chase the dream? Or is it just me? But that's also the courage that I think is also going to be reflected in this podcast when people hear the stories, the ReveLAtion stories of the guests we have on.
It's nothing I would do today.
It's that courage, to just say, hey, okay, well, everybody didn't show up, but I'm still going to start that car and, go 2,500 miles.
Yeah, and then when I left, I had no job, no place, no specific location to go. I just put in the rainbow.
In your nav?
In my GPS.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
4 or 5 days across the country, pulled up in front of the rainbow with all my shit, drums, everything, parked it, and went inside and had a nice dinner. And then figured it out from there.
Right.
And, that was actually a pretty crazy story. I ended up meeting people that knew people that I knew.
I know, right?
And this one guy, my very first night in there, this guy was waiting in line with me. He told me he had been to the rainbow in like 25 years, since like the 80s or whatever. He used to go all the time. And it was just, my wife's out of town. This old guy rolled up by himself, right? I don't think I've ever told you this.
No, I don't think so, but. So
strikes up a conversation with me in line. I'm like, oh, it's my first night in LA. I'm figuring it out. Just drove from Virginia, all stoked. And he goes, would you mind if I had dinner with you? I was like, yeah, sure,
Oh, that's so cool.
And he ended up
right away
buying us dinner, being a cool dude. Never saw him again. Don't remember his name. Can't even remember what he looked like. But it's that cool, He just happened to come on a random night, and that was like.
It was almost like you had this welcoming committee, but it was just some happenstance that made that
ran
happen.
into Beck Black.
Oh, who my buddy? First night?
In line, I hear Beck Black, and I go Beck Black, and this is back when they were the Moonbeams, before they were Beck Black, and singer from the Moonbeams, whatever, And I go, Moonbeams, that's Adam's band, my
Right.
buddy Adam.
Right.
Turn around, hey, you know Adam? Oh, Street Drum Corps, da 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 da. And like, Beck was there. Beck witnessed my first night.
It's so
Like,
cool
and
because
we-
it
yeah.
already started to connect
And
because
then
you took that leap of faith and just like went for it.
As her and I are talking, like this is just pulling into LA, waiting in line to even get into the Rainbow because it was popping that night, right? I'm talking to Beck, and then Jimmy Steinfeld, Michael Jackson's photographer, walks up and he's like, "Oh, you guys look so great," and like starts taking photos of us, and we're just like,
And people are like, "Who are these little superstars?"
from the get go.
Wow, I never knew that story. That's cool. But see,
and then figuring it out from there.
right, and it also speaks to the idea of like, hey, just take the leap of faith, go for it, don't hold back. When everybody peels off, who cares? You just gotta the courage, right? Yeah. The courage that we're talking about,
resilience.
Yeah, because it's in there. You know, you just gotta like go for it. You know, just get over all the. And I'm sure on some level you were kind of nervous along the way, or maybe not. But I mean, you know what I'm saying?
I think
not
I
nervous,
didn't put too much thought into it.
Yeah.
Just go.
It's probably better
yeah.
not to think about it. Yeah,
exactly. Like now, if I were to like be in the same position, I'd probably go, "Oh, well, let's see if that makes logical sense." You know?
Maybe I need to stay and work a little bit more. Maybe I need to know more people before I go there. Yeah.
And you know what? In Virginia, if I would have stayed at my job another week, I would have got like this crazy bonus or whatever, and really could have like, set me up even more. But I was like, you know what? I turned down like.
But then you never would have played Coachella.
Well, I mean, I just would have showed up a week later, but I turned down like $3,000 or something just to go a week earlier. I was just like,
but it's just those little things that can shift the trajectory. Right, so it's totally. Like it's good that you kind of let that go for the bigger dream. You know,
yeah.
Because I think that's one of the things that sometimes gets in, even my way for that matter. It's just the logical thinking. Yeah. Sometimes you got to throw that and not think about the practical. Yeah. You know, the practicalities of the situation you're going into. Just go for it. You know.
Yeah. And not being so realistic. I don't like that word realistic because what is realistic? Anything's possible. You know.
Right.
The Wright brothers. They were working on bicycles, and the next thing you know, started building planes.
Right. So it started popping right away for you too. That's good. Yeah. I mean, when I came back to LA, I was talking about how I got signed with a commercial agency, and as soon as I took that leap of faith and just because I was having a good time down in Orange County with all my friends, and I was very popular, and I'd made all these new friends, and I was having a really good time.
Orange County's amazing.
And then I remember I just announced to everybody, I'm moving to LA, and then they all kind of laughed, like, "Oh yeah, sure, you're moving to LA," Because we had it going on, we were just, it was just like, well, why would you do that,
Right.
But, I had goals, and things that I wanted to pursue. And now I had this opportunity to do it. I didn't know how I was going to do it or, didn't have, again, no place to stay. But I'm born and raised here. So I knew, I stayed with my uncle, I think, for 2 weeks in Hermosa Beach.
Yeah.
And then I got a job up on the Sunset Strip at what is now the London Hotel. On the roof, they have this killer rooftop. It was really one of the first rooftop. Like now, rooftops are everywhere in LA. The cool rooftop scenes. But then it was like, a thing. And I got a job there, bartending and doing like banquets and stuff there. And then it just all started to come together. But again, because I was willing to just like leave all that behind. And not be afraid to not know anybody again or.
If you drown, you drown.
Right? Yeah.
But at least you aren't on your deathbed thinking, oh, what if I did this? What if I did that?
And then...
and that's the worst way to die.
The funny thing is, after I did that, a bunch of my friends who were born and raised down in Orange County came to LA, moved to LA. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was like, oh, wow, GM went to LA. Wow, check it out.
It's possible.
Right? It might be kind of cool to check that out. But, yeah. So... Episode number 1.
Episode number done.
I know. It's been good though, but I think
this was a good conversation.
It's good, because it's let's keep the dream alive. Let's keep the idea of dreaming and being dreamers, because I think again in this world, it's getting a little intense sometimes. More so, especially with the pandemic and all that. So I think now that people are starting to come out of it. They can like get inspired again.
Yeah.
I think people are really just naturally getting inspired again, don't you?
Yeah.
I see that a lot in a lot of my friends.
In different ways, you know. I mean, pre-pandemic, we weren't really thinking about a podcast.
Well, I'm really inspired by this. I feel like my creativity is coming back because I haven't done music. I haven't sang. You know, I haven't been in a recording studio in a couple of years or more now since we did since I pressed the 12-inch single, the vinyl single that you're on, Joe Perez. But since then, I haven't really felt in a creative mode. But then all of a sudden, you know,
here we are. Yeah. The pandemic just. You can look at it as a negative, but you can also look at it as like a positive shift, you know? We're switching gears. We're exploring other ideas. We're finding new ways to be creative.
Right.
We're dreaming.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
ReveLAtions.
Keeping it alive. Yeah.
All right. More listeners to come, more guests to come. It's going to be fun.
Exactly. I'm excited.
It is fun already.
I'm really excited for this journey.
Thanks to James Burnett.
I want to give a shout out to James.
Yeah, he's the man. We love James. And we're here at his amazing place in Malibu, which was also one of the great omens because I was kind of raised right down the road in Topanga, so I had a lot of friends in Malibu, and I'm glad that we're all still here. Yeah, friends in Malibu. All right. Well, let's do this again soon.
Yeah. From us to you, keep dreaming and keep listening. Look out for more episodes to come
of ReveLAtions.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, brother. Yeah. Done.
Oh, I need to stretch now.
I got it.